Oh, I forgot the preamble. I'm so sorry. I'm going to call it up. But in the meantime, let's have a question of the night. So questions of the night. We're almost through the cold, rainy Oregon winter, but it's still cold and rainy. If money were no object, if COVID was no object, where would you go? Where would you take a vacation to? The world's your oyster. Where would you go? I'll start with Rachel. I'll start with you.
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I would say maybe Hawaii. Have some family there, so it's always good to connect with them. Are we popcorning, or are you going to go down the list?
I'm just going to go down. I'm just going to. Or you can go ahead and pick somebody.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Amanda. As you take a sip. Sorry about that.
Timing. Awesome. No, it's all good. I think if I could go anywhere, I would go to like Provence country in France. Like just sit out in the country and eat some croissants and drink some wine and watch people go about their daily lives. That sounds relaxing.
That does sound relaxing. You want to pass it on, Amanda?
Let's see, who's Jaspreet, you're next on my.
Thank you. This is a great question, I have to say, and I'm super jealous. And it, well, since you brought up France, I'm going to say Portugal. I don't know anything about what the weather's like right now in Portugal, but it just sounds amazing. So hence, that's my reason. And I will pass it on to Kinsey.
I would go to Australia and find out where Chris Hemsworth lives and make him fall in love with me. And that would be he's my favorite superhero. So crap, sorry, my bad. I'm gonna pass it over to Quinn and John.
What is the actual question? I'm assuming it's some sort of travel.
If money was no object and COVID wasn't a thing, where would you go?
Malta for me in the Mediterranean, and I would combine it with a trip to Greece and Italy and Spain. So I'd do like this little circle trip. Yeah. What about you?
Hey, Quinn, treasurer and on the board, and I would go back to Japan. Again, I love Japan.
Where in Japan? Anywhere particular or just all over?
We'd start in Tokyo and then make our way all the way south.
I
Although
want to go to Okinawa.
Yeah,
It would be nice this time of year. But yeah, we had a great time in Japan.
Yeah, Japan's great.
Let's see.
Who hasn't gone? Because we were
a little late. Kevin?
So in the States, I would go to Asheville because that's where I'm from and because I miss my friends and people there. Out of the States, I would have to choose between like Denmark or Norway to go biking or to Australia to watch Chris Hemsworth fall in love with Kinsey because that would be awesome.
Don't worry, you're all invited to the wedding.
Okay, good. Okay, Franziska.
Thanks, Franziska Rose Elliott. I'm the staff liaison to this lovely NAC, and I would go to New Zealand also because it's summer there right now. So, and I will pass it over to Officer Bowen.
It would be a tour of the Mediterranean, Greece, Italy, Amalfi Coast, work my way up around to Spain, and enjoy what life had to bring to me. So,
Officer Bowen, where are you right now?
I am in my swanky backyard.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'm in the middle of a kitchen remodel, so I'm stuck with alternate cooking options for dinner. So thankfully, it's not raining outside. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble.
Who we got left?
I have
Jonathan.
no idea.
Jonathan. Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan, BCCI rep, I would go to Croatia. We have some cool looking national parks. And I'll send it over to David Owen.
Hi, I would go to Koh Samui, Thailand. It's a relatively small, not very touristy island, and nothing beats being able to walk out onto the beach and eat fresh caught seafood barefoot. And I will pass it on to, I actually don't know who's gone yet. Jaspreet.
Oh, we did Jaspreet.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
thank you.
Did
No,
we
that's
miss-
okay.
I think Jefferson or Rick.
Can
let's
you
go.
guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can't.
Great. In states, I would go back home to Tallahassee, where I'm from and grew up. Out of country, the Philippines, where I'm going to be going this summer, because that's where I'll be retiring in about 8 years. So I got a plan.
Good to have a plan. How about, did we do Amanda?
We haven't done Jefferson yet, I believe.
Hi, guys. I would just go somewhere tropical. Anywhere is better than here. That's all I'm gonna say. So, thanks.
All right. Did we do it? Oh, we did Amanda. Anyone else? Do we miss?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, last but not least, I'll go. I think I would go to, my wife and I would go to Peru. Fly to Lima, maybe hit the beaches and stuff. See Lima, hit the beaches, and then Machu Picchu, as well as a few other sites. So, all right. I found the preamble, so I'll give a quick read of that and we can kick off. The purpose of the CBNAC is to act in an advisory role to the Council Administration of the City of Beaverton on matters of importance to the CBNAC or the city, and to provide a forum for the involvement and participation for the greatest number of citizens. There are no dues or fees for the NAC membership, and anyone who lives, works, owns property, or represents a nonprofit within the NAC border is a member. The Cbnax activities are civic and educational. Some of its goals are to bring about maximum exposure of ideas and plans that are formulated for Central Beaverton, such as development proposals or other land use issues, and to provide opportunities for input to the city through such avenues as the mayor, city council, city commissions, and staff of the city of Beaverton. The city of Beaverton has a matching grant program that we utilize to fund some of our community activities. If you have an agenda item that you'd like to add to our next meeting, have any ideas about the NAC, or have an idea for a community event or project idea, please see me after the adjournment of meeting, or please feel free to mail me or just put something in the chat. Okay. And with that, I believe we can kick off. Officer Bowen, you're headlining the meeting. You're up. If you wouldn't mind giving us an update.
Yeah, I sent Franziska the crime stats. The most recent ones were December. We had a few, I would say nothing crazy over the holidays that stood out to me. A few assaults that ticked up from the month before, but thefts actually went down, which I guess is good over the holiday season. So hopefully people were taking it safe and doing the preventative stuff that kept them from being victims of thefts. I know recently for us at work, things have kind of slowed down. It's that time of year, but we have had quite a bit of constant activity from the homeless population around Beaverton. That's kept us busy for the most part. And again, the challenging thing with us is limitations at the jail really limit our ability to enforce lower level crimes other than citations. So when dealing with a population that doesn't have anywhere else to go, it doesn't give us a lot of options. And we've even had some of them frustrated because they want to go to jail for to get out from the weather, chance to clean up, whatever their own means are. Sometimes that's what they seek, and we can't even do that. So that's kind of where we're at this point, but nothing big or crazy, at least that I've heard of or seen or pulled up on stats. Any questions for me from anyone?
Officer Ronan, do you know if has there been an update on the Washington County Jail when they're planning to open?
I don't know for sure. We've constantly been kind of asking that ourselves, because it is a limitation that we run into that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean,
and we haven't heard. I know Multnomah County does accept custodies, at least for bookings. They don't hold them very long, but they haven't done that in years anyways. But there is a process to at least book somebody, get fingerprints, kind of create that interruption sometimes that's needed to kind of break whatever cycle somebody's in, and then kind of get a fresh reset. And we just haven't heard any updates from Washington County on when they're going to change their policies. So,
okay, yeah, I know the diversionary resourcing is available at the jail, and that's not in play right now, and that's a shame that we don't have those tools in our belt to connect people with services to prevent them from being desperate in situations. So is that a Washington County sheriff decision, or who's responsible for that decision? Do you know?
The jail's run by the Washington County Sheriff's Office. And then they meet with all the other local, I guess, head police chiefs within the county, but ultimately the policies are run through the sheriff's office. I know they have some guidelines, I think maybe from OSHA or from the state governor's office that has affected some of their policies due to COVID reasons. And then whatever staffing they have available at any given time, also probably fluctuating due to COVID, that affects the amount of pods and rooms they can have open. And then given population restrictions as far as making sure inmates are separated at adequate levels due to COVID, it all kind of plays together. So
thanks for the update. That's
right. So, hopefully things will change. It looks like I try to pay attention to the health stats out of Oregon Health Authority, or I think that's what it is. I get kind of weekly updates from them on tracking COVID, just kind of for my own info. And it looks like things are trending in the right directions. And that Omicron's kind of hit things a lot less. But we haven't seen any significant adjustments or changes to what our current policies are supposed to be. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Officer Bowen, a question for me. I see advertisements for Beaverton Police that they're recruiting. I assume it's entry level. Not that I'm thinking of applying, but I just wonder: are the Beaverton Police fully staffed in terms of the numbers that they're allocated or the budget that they're allocated?
It fluctuates. I believe we are pretty close to fully staffed for the most part. I know we have a large number of recruits, so we could say we're fully staffed, but that's kind of misleading because of the amount of time it takes for a recruit to go through training, the academy, and our field FTEP program for training. And so realistically, once somebody's hired, before they hit the road by themselves and would count as like an individual officer, I guess you could say, for full-time employment purposes, it's gonna be months, probably close to eight to 10 months.
Hmm.
Would kind of be my expectation. Sometimes a little bit sooner, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on how they progress with stuff. But we're by no means anywhere near what Portland's experiencing, which is good. But I know that they kind of have this open hiring process because they're constantly trying to fill for attrition and cover for people that are going to be leaving soon. So we can try to stay ahead of that curve as best we can.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for Officer Bowen? No? Okay. Well, thank you again, Officer Bowen.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. And I do know that the art centers, it looks like it's opening soon. So I'm looking forward to what that brings to us. So hopefully we get some updates soon. But
yeah.
Thanks everyone. Enjoy your week.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
All right, great. Okay. So next is the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec update. So Jaspreet, I think you're gonna do that tonight.
I am. Thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jaspreet. I'm subbing in for Lulu Ballesteros, who is the long-term standing liaison for the SNAC. And to kick things off, I think since we left a little bit on employment, we are also hiring. The district is currently hiring for many positions. We have lots of opportunities available. Please visit our website to learn more. And then next up, we have spring registration is upcoming later this month. And the date for that is Saturday, February 26th for in-district. And we now have activities guides that are now available on the district website for classes that run from March through June of 2022. And currently, we also have open enrollment that's upcoming for preschool, 9-month preschool 22-23 school year. And registration for that opens February 9th at 9 a.m. We also have spring native plant sale that's upcoming. Online ordering starts Tuesday, February 15th. And this is as easy as go to sparrowhawknativeplants.com, and I can put the link in the chat and order from February 15th through March 15th, and then select the date and time you want to pick up your plants and visit the Nature Center to collect your plants. In terms of events, we have lots going on. We have the Museo Ambulante, which is walking museum. It's ongoing currently now through July 30th. What this is it's a walking museum across the community and brings community history to life through an interactive outdoor experience. And you can find the list of parks on our website where you may be able to participate in this walking museum experience. Today marks day one of our Welcome Center week. So you may be familiar with, in the previous registration cycles, we have the day of registration for in-person registration that's encouraged for community members that don't speak English. To expand those opportunities, we now have an entire week set aside for folks that may require some additional assistance, and this is being offered free of cost from 5 through 7 p.m. Starting Monday, February 7th through Friday the 11th. And this is just supporting patrons in selecting classes. And if you are more familiar with our registration date, which is February 26th, we will have in-person assistance that date too. And finally, we have lots of volunteer opportunities for anyone that may be looking to volunteer. The one that you may find on our website currently for the month of February is tree planting at Schiffler Park. And again, you can find more on our website. Along with that, we have some standing public meetings, which is the information for that is also under the events page. I think that's all I have for now, but any questions?
Can I confirm the date of the tree planting? I thought it was originally the 12th, but then I got something this week that it was the 19th. So maybe I was misinformed informed or missed it, but
The tree planting volunteer?
yeah.
Let me just confirm that for you.
I think it should be the 19th.
It's the 19th. Okay. But was it always the 19th?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. I just, for some reason I had 12 in my mind, but okay.
Yep, it's Saturday the 19th.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
All right, I think that's it.
Yeah. Any questions from anyone? I think not. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jaspreet. Hi, Thom.
Hello.
All right. Okay. Next up is Jonathan Todd-Kourlas with BCCI report.
Hello, yeah, just a couple things. Our new counselor liaison, Nadia Hassan, let us know that the council is working on their priorities. They haven't been finalized as of January 24th. It might have been since then. But some of them were like welcoming community, good government, public safety, housing, quality infrastructure, environmental sustainability, and community wellness are what they were kind of looking at so far. We also got an update on the city website redesign and a software upgrade, which I don't know if you knew was happening, but it launches in April. So they're currently working on migrating the current website over to it, training employees and doing all of that. It's supposed to have a better search engine, more user-friendly. But if they kind of asked if there's things you enjoy about the current website or don't enjoy, to let them know as they work on the new one. And as of right now, the voters forum is April 28th. It should be a hybrid event in person at the Art Center and also online. And then we're hoping for the volunteer fair in June. So look out for that. And that's all I got.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Jonathan? Going once, twice. Nope. All right. We're just moving right along. Okay. City update. And it's great to have her back. Franziska.
Yeah, thanks
You wouldn't
everyone.
mind?
Glad to be back. See all of your shining faces. And welcome to all the attendees. Again, my name is Franziska Rose Elliott. I'm the Public Involvement Coordinator for the City of Beaverton, and also get to hang out with these fine folks every first Monday of the month. So a couple of big updates. So an update to Beaverton's community vision, one of the city's guiding tools to help inform city priorities, is underway. The community vision is a citywide project with input from community members that provides a framework for helping to determine what kind of community we want for the future. The Visioning Advisory Committee, which one of our very own in this room is actually a part of, very good, Rachel Phillip, is the volunteer group that leads outreach efforts and the primary authors and accountability partners for the plan. She can probably talk way more about this than I can, but I digress. I'll continue. The current update consists of outreach to community members, surveys, virtual and live events, and other participation. Goals include involving the city's population in the process, a focus on intentional outreach to traditionally underrepresented groups, being responsive to the changing needs of the community, and developing a final product that will be useful for city council and staff. The original community, and yes, I just saw Amanda Clark is also on the back as well. So many folks doing so many things. The original community vision plan was adopted by the city council in 2010. The latest update in 2016 included 5 goals and 104 actions. Milestones are compiled and shared each year. The 2016 vision realized and inspired many projects that have been completed or are currently in development. And the city update will reflect outcomes that will inform the city's vision in a new and different way. And you can learn more at beavertonoregon.gov/vision. And I'll put the link for everything, all the links that I mentioned in the chat here in a minute. Beaverton City Council election filing is underway. Beaverton residents interested in running for election to the Beaverton City Council can obtain a candidate's filing handbook. The deadline in filing is Tuesday, March 8th at 5 p.m. 4 city council positions elected at large are open. Council positions 1, 2, and 5 will be nominated at the primary election and elected at the general election to serve a 4-year term. At the primary election, the 2 candidates with the most votes for each position will proceed to the general election ballot. If one candidate receives a majority of all votes cast, then that candidate alone is nominated to the general election ballot. The candidate with the majority of votes at the general election is elected. Council position 3 is a vacant position due to resignation with 3 years remaining on the unexpired term for this office. That was Mark Fagan, who recently resigned, in case you're following that. Candidates must be 18 years of age by the election date, a qualified elector of the state, and have lived in city limits 6 months prior to the election date. The candidate's filing handbook with the requirements for petition and signatures can be obtained from the city elections office at Beaverton City Hall, and that's at the Beaverton building at 12725 Southwest Milliken Way, or at beaverton.oregon.gov/elections. The primary election is May 17th, 2022, and the general election is November 8th, 2022. And tune into city council meetings for discussions and decisions on important city topics. This month, agenda items planned include presentations on the Comprehensive School Resource Officer Review, Milliken Way Project and Downtown Equity Strategy updates, and work sessions include a review of legislative bills, capital improvement plan priorities, and reimbursement districts. The City Council will also review and discuss 2-year strategic goals identified in late 2021, along with a priorities work plan. Upcoming City Council meetings are February 8th, February 16th, and February 22nd, and meeting agendas and minutes can be found at beaverton.oregon.gov/city council. Before I ask if there's any questions, since we do have 2 VAC members as part of CBNAC, was there anything else that you wanted to add about all of the exciting things happening with the community vision this year? I know it's a big year.
I guess I would just add, if there's any way like our NAC can partner with the VAC, I think like that would be a great opportunity for us to get to know Central Beaverton better and outreach to people, as well as represent Central Beaverton in the community vision and make sure Central Beaverton people are well heard. I don't know if we have any plans to do that at this point, but I think that would be a great opportunity for us.
Awesome. Anything else, Amanda? Don't want you to feel left out. Sorry for forgetting that you too are on the VAC. All right, great. Are there any questions about anything that I have mentioned tonight or anything else city related that I might be able to answer? And for folks in the audience, if you just want to use the raise hand function, if you do have questions, I'll be happy to call on you. All right, too easy. Turn it back to you, Brian.
Okay. Just one more time, any other questions for Franziska? Anyone? Thank you. Nice to hear your voice and your updates again. All righty. So I have a couple officers report. Amanda, do you want to do approval of the previous minutes?
Sure. I think, is that something the chair has to do?
I can do it. Yeah, but just let me confirm. Are we talking about November, December? I did not get January, but I don't know if everyone else did or not, and if we should be approving January. I may have missed those.
I sent out January's, but I can go ahead and re-forward them to everyone or anybody who's missing.
It may have just been me though. So then we should be approving. Let me just ask, did anyone not get January minutes?
I'm looking, I know I've got December and November, but
I got that.
Yeah.
I got January.
You got January?
Yeah, and this is my bad. It's the last minute, and you might see in the email, Amanda.
Yeah,
but
I just saw that, Quinn. Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for saying that.
sure.
Yeah, we got the minutes on the 5th of January, if that helps. Check your spam, junk folders.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's been. I've got a bunch of stuff from.
Oh, sorry, the
Oh no!
3rd.
Wait, the 3rd.
Yeah, the 3rd.
Oh,
Sorry.
yep, there it is. There it is. Yep, got it.
Okay, well, if you all got them, I don't think I did. I definitely got November, December on the 6th of December, but I don't know what may have happened. But yeah, why don't we, if you all got them, then I think we can go ahead and approve them.
We need
Yeah.
to make that change for the
Right.
balance change in the minutes.
Right. So Amanda, can you make that change? The one that Quinn just sent through, were you on it?
It might make sense to just do November and December this month, and then have her resubmit those to us, and then come back around in January next month.
We
I
can.
believe November and December are already approved,
Already
so we can go
approved,
ahead
right?
and
Yeah.
table January for February's meeting, and I'll make the changes to the treasurer's report.
Okay.
I can also just update the numbers and what I received before I upload it to the web. So to make it super simple, I can just change those two numbers from 05 to 10, and as long as you all approve it. So
Yeah.
don't do anything until approved.
I move to approve the minutes as edited for January.
Second.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So I think we're good. Thank you for that.
Sorry,
And just
exciting.
I just checked my own email. Brian, I do see I do see you included in the header, so it
No,
may have been,
I stuck it somewhere then.
yeah, it may have gone to a
I
spam
stuck it in
folder
such a
or
good place,
something.
I can't find it. So anyway, so sorry, my apologies. It's my miss. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, and thank you, Amanda. Quinn, anything on Treasury report?
Yes, so our previous balance in January was for $3,310.31, and our current balance as of today is $3,310.32. We have an incoming check deposit into the account for $1,000 from Tualatin Valley Creates. That was for Drizzle Fest, and then we have an incoming matching grant from the city, also for Drizzle Fest, and then we have some upcoming expenses for the Schiffler Park tree planting.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to interject. One of the things that I wasn't, I'm not quite sure of. We're submitting a matching grant for the balance of that. We've got it's very straightforward because we've got a in-kind donation for 50% of our payout. Do we need a full board approval for the grant submittal, or is that just standing? Is that part of the?
No, we did the motion to approve.
Okay.
the money, so you don't need a
That's
board.
I didn't get it off to BCCI just because I wanted to check on that first. So
Yeah,
that should be for the next BCCI meeting then.
And I'm only bugging you, Tom, about it, and not Brian yet, because it's when you were chair.
Yeah, no, and that's
I'll
and
start
I had
bugging Brian about it.
I had all the communications with Razier anyway. So yeah,
Cool.
Yes.
Amanda, I dropped the numbers into the chat. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Anything else? Anything else, Quinn?
No, that's it.
That's it. All right. Questions for Quinn? Looks like none. Okay, great. So that takes care of all the usual reports. So Rachel, you had asked for some extra time. So we're ahead of schedule, so you've got 30 minutes or even more if you'd like. So take as much time as you'd like.
Sounds good. Hey, everyone. So the Sustainability Subcommittee has been talking and planning what we want to do for 2022, just to get projects and initiatives underway. So I'll be sharing a couple slide decks about where we want to focus our time and effort, and to hear back from the NAC and hear what you all think, and to see and to get support for these ideas. So I'm going to share my screen. And oh dear. Okay. Alrighty. And I can't see the chat. So if anyone has anything that they want to interject or anything, just come off mute and let me know. Or Quinn and John, if you see anyone, or John and Kinsey, if you see anyone with a hand raised or with questions, just speak up and let me know. All right, so we put together kind of a vision, some guiding principles, and some projects we'd like to do this year. Our vision for our sustainability subcommittee is to make the Central Beaverton community a sustainability leader across Washington County by driving systemic, community, and individual change. And we came up with some principles that we wanted to use to guide us in this work. The first is we acknowledge that climate solutions must be on a systemic, community, and individual level. We acknowledge that climate change has an oversized impact on more vulnerable communities, and those communities in general bear less responsibility for the outcomes of climate change. We embrace diverse viewpoints in how to form solutions and acknowledge that systemic injustices are part of the climate problem. We do our best to use an equity and justice lens to evaluate our programs and events. We acknowledge that our events and solutions will not be perfect, and we embrace community feedback and transparency on how we can do better in the future. And we want to do research to bring back best practices to this NAC as well as our community. And with that, we came up with a few different themes that we want to tackle this year. The first one is, unsurprisingly, probably to most people who attend these meetings, is trees. The first project that we have that's coming up this year is the Schiffler Park tree planting, which already came up in the THPRD update. Hope you can all sign up and come out. It should be, I think the weather is looking good for that day so far. The follow-up, there will be a fall follow-up to that, again at Schiffler Park. And then a longer term project we want to sort of push forward is this thing called A Year of Trees. And the idea is we advocate that the city of Beaverton takes on an ambitious tree planting goal for 1 calendar year. So 365 days, such as planting 10,000 trees in the city. So that's about 1 tree for every 10 residents in Beaverton. We would encourage partnerships with THPRD, Washington County, Beaverton School District, and other public entities. And at the end, we would celebrate how many trees we planted and the impact they would have on our city. And I'll be going into a little bit more depth on this at the end. So if you have questions or want to learn more, just hang on. We'll be talking a little bit more about this A Year of Trees idea we have so far. Our second project theme that we have for 2022 is sustainable transportation. The first thing we want to do is see if we can put on an e-bike test drive event. The idea is that we would partner with local bike shops to have an outdoor and centralized e-bike test drive. And the idea is e-bikes are great because they encourage bicycling, and they also kind of level the playing ground between, people who are like super active and fit and those who like might not be feeling like they can like hop on a bicycle and get to where they need to go. So e-bikes are a great way to sort of level the playing field for people of different ability and fitness levels. The idea is we would let residents try out bikes and ask questions, support local bike shops, and we have a possible location in mind of having something like this, so like the library parking lot where the farmers market is on a weekend day. The second project theme we have is electric car charging advocacy. The idea is we would research some best practices to encourage electric car charging, especially fast chargers, to encourage more electric vehicle adoption, especially for renters. It's not that challenging to, plug in your car if you own your own home, but renters may not have access to an easy place to charge their car. So the idea is, how can we get the city to invest more in public electric car charging so that people who are renting can then know, like, oh, I will be able to charge my car easily. I see, charging stations, at these places that are very available. We could research some potential partnerships with PGE and Pacific Power. And then our goal for the end of this project would be to make recommendations to the NAC and plan to advocate how to advocate them to the city. If I sound a little out of breath, I am a little out of breath. I currently have less lung capacity at 34 weeks pregnant. So if I sound like I'm gasping for air a little, forgive me there. The last project theme we have is called Withintrification. And the idea here is we want to research best practices for withintrification as opposed to gentrification, to present to the NAC for the purposes of education, informing future initiatives, and best advocating for our community. Withintrification basically tries to do the opposite of gentrification. So we aim to revitalize areas by investing in communities already within our neighborhood rather than displacing those communities. And the idea here is that people within Central Beaverton would help us determine what kind of investments, as well as sustainability practices, are consistent with our goals and what people here actually want to see. And this is the thing that would probably come after this research and presentation to the NAC would be community outreach, to actually hear from people about what they think would be good to see in our NAC. We came up with some other ideas and future priorities. Some include improving bike infrastructure, hosting bike information events, supporting high-density housing events, and 15-minute neighborhoods. A 15-minute neighborhood is a neighborhood that you could walk 15 minutes to get your basic needs met. So easy access to a grocery store, other things and other amenities that are well within your 15-minute walk within your neighborhood. Some other goals are helping neighbors how to improve their homes with insulation, switching to electric and other efficient appliances, connecting neighbors to solar panel resources, and advocating for human-centric walkable spaces. If you like these ideas, please join us. We really only have capacity for how many people we have. So the more people join us, the more we can accomplish. And then if you are interested, obviously being at this meeting, you can speak up, or you can email cbnac.sustainability@gmail.com. And I'm going to stop sharing for now to see if there are any questions before I jump into a little bit more about A Year of Trees.
Really quick, I just wanted to put it out there. I'm happy to share any part of this presentation or anything else that y'all might want me to share on the Central Beaverton Facebook page to encourage folks to potentially get involved in the subcommittee. So anyway, just putting that out there, we've got various marketing channels that we could try to get folks involved in this particular subcommittee to increase capacity. So anyway.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we also get the 2 mailing events, I believe, per year that, once we determine, like if we're going to, do like the bike information event, which we could really combine with the e-bike test drive kind of thing and invite some, Kevin put some resources in the comments, I think would be good. We can use the city's mailing ability to let people know in the neighborhood, and we can also use social media to let as many people know as possible.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, those are all great points. And in case you're wondering what that might look like, I live in the West Beaverton neighborhood, and I just got one of Miles's postcards talking about meeting the mayor. It looks quite lovely. We can do a postcard and on the backside have more information about the NAC. So anyway, there are some options to get the word out as you start kind of generating ideas for different projects and opportunities.
Hey, Rachel, could
That's awesome.
you drop the email in the chat?
Yeah, definitely. Let me just grab it really quick here.
I just want to comment, I'm really excited about all this work and the projects that you're taking on, and to talk about the communication piece. I think it's not always clear, not just to people who attend our meetings, but to the people at large, that they can be part of a committee without attending these meetings frequently, that they can be part of a committee just living in this neighborhood, and they're just like, I'm passionate about sustainability. So as we look at encouraging people to join, realizing that they can commit in that one small way, even if they don't have a lot of time or capacity to give, but they're passionate about that issue. So something to keep in mind as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of the reason we put this in is like, we're trying to figure out how do we bridge that gap, right? How do we get that other, the people who maybe don't care about building updates but do really care about sustainability engaged with us.
I just wanted to, but on that note, that's something that can easily be included on a mailing for a specific event. Hey, check out this e-bike rodeo. It's brought to you by the Sustainability Committee if you want to be involved with similar events, or just a little blurb. And then another thing, not to get too off track, but there are other opportunities to do outreach in our committee. I know I've mentioned the farmers market.
I think we lost one.
Oh, there we go.
We lost you at farmers market.
Yeah, I guess Zoom was tired of hearing me talking about the farmers market. They do have a community table. I'm sure it'll be going again this year, and I know we haven't done any in-person outreach, and that's the kind of in-person. I mean, that's the focal point of the community on weekends. That's also a great example of a lasting impact on the community that started at the Central Beaverton NAC 20 years ago. So I think we should, this may be more of an events thing, but in partnership with pushing some of the sustainability goals, especially around volunteers, we should think about doing an outreach there.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
The other kind of thing I want to add is we actually have a bunch of other projects too identified in the priority list, but these are the ones we thought we could reasonably accomplish with a little bit more help from the NAC. If we get an overwhelmingly large amount of help, there's a ton of other stuff we've already identified that is kind of shovel ready. If you're familiar with that term, we're ready to go. We've kind of solidified a plan. We just basically we can accomplish all of this with a moderate amount of help, and if we get more, we can do quite a bit more. So talk to your neighbors too. If anyone is interested, that cbnac.sustainability@gmail is a great way to get in touch with us.
The events subcommittee is looking for ways to help. So
Well, you're kind of
bring me into that. I'll help.
Perfect.
you're kind of obligated anyway.
Cool. This is awesome. Racial and sustainability subcommittee.
Yeah, big shout out to John and Kinsey as well in helping drive this work forward.
Rachel?
Yeah.
Or is this just a time for just any comments?
Yeah, so yeah, if you have any comments about that presentation, and then after this, I will jump into A Year of Trees more.
Yeah, this is awesome. Good, like really good work. And it's also really exciting. I think it'll make it easier to get people engaged. I love the idea of like advocating the city to set some big goals for itself too, because like we can do some good stuff as community members, but if we can really inspire the city to take action on their own too, that would be really cool. So I'm really excited about all this. And I put some potential partners in the chat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
And just talking about bike rodeos, I know that Bike Beaverton is something that the Bicycle Advisory Committee puts on every year. I think, I'm not sure what month they're planning to do it this year, but it typically tends to be in May. So that could be, to Kevin's point, a really great opportunity for the NAC to partner with an existing board who does a big, citywide event to, potentially have some section of it that's dedicated to e-bikes and trying it out and working with, the bike gallery. But anyway, so I don't actually know specifically what the Climate Action Task Force is up to, but I definitely at least know that about the Bicycle Advisory Committee. It's their big annual event. I could get you
that's great to know.
The chair or the staff liaison. So I'm here to help. Basically, bottom line, y'all let me know what you want to do. I'll help you find the resources, connect you to the right folks. I'll post all of your things on the Central Beaverton Facebook page. Just give me the text you want me to put. I'm here for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. And with that, just to make good use of our time, I'm going to jump back to sharing my screen to go over a little bit more detail on A Year of Trees. All right. Let me just move these things around so I can see it. Okay. So A Year of Trees. The idea of A Year of Trees, like I mentioned earlier, is an idea where the whole city is challenged and encouraged to plant an ambitious number of trees. So the number we came up with was 10,000, or 1 for every 10 residents. The idea is any tree planted in Beaverton counts. Ideally, we especially focus on places that don't have that much tree coverage and are more susceptible to extreme heat. At the end of the year, we would celebrate by seeing how many trees we did plant. And we can showcase that impact by creating a map of where we did plant trees and documenting estimates on what those trees add to our community, like shade provided, carbon captured, etc. In this vision, the city of Beaverton would be primarily responsible for managing, marketing, and sponsoring A Year of Trees. And we think that there are significant partnerships that would enable the success of this project. Those include THPRD, especially because like THPRD is probably where we want to plant a lot of these trees. Others include Beaverton School District, partnerships with Friends of Trees and OSU Extension Services to kind of get some more information about what kind of trees we should be planting, as well as potentially like access to those trees. We could encourage businesses to sponsor this. We could get help from volunteer and neighborhood groups like NACs, and as well as local nurseries. Whoops, I went too far forward. How do I go back? There we go. Okay. So then the question is, why is this the right focus? Beaverton has been losing its urban canopy. And we have some strategies to be defensive of current existing trees, but we don't have that many strategies on how to plant new trees. So this project would accomplish several things. It would show that City of Beaverton really does have a commitment to trees, and would demonstrate that tangibly. It would also build community through participation and volunteerism. And this feels like a great time for it because we've all been living through 2 years of isolation and COVID stress. This would also be like a COVID safer type of project where people would be outside building community. And this project would also highlight climate change as an important issue to the City of Beaverton and allow residents to take meaningful action against climate change. So I know in this NAC, we talk a lot about trees, and like, obviously we all really like trees. So I went out to look at the community, the last Beaverton community vision that was posted in 2016. And this project is really aligned with a lot of the things that were outlined in that community vision as well. So there's an emphasis on building community. One of the big themes was building community. And this project would foster and promote a common sense of community identity. It would improve the look and the feel of the city. It would improve mobility because it makes Beaverton more pedestrian and bike friendly, like especially last summer when we hit those 116 degree temperatures, like any stretch of sidewalk where there's not a tree, you could definitely feel the heat just like radiating onto you. So by planting more trees now, we prepare ourselves better to have a more pedestrian and bike friendly city in the future. And then it would also enhance livability. We would be a leader in sustainable practices and programs and create walkable neighborhoods with convenient and safe access to amenities. So these bullets are all directly from the community vision. And so I just wanted to highlight how this is not just Central Beaverton people being like, oh, we love trees. This is consistent with what Beaverton has said it wants more of. Whoops. So how would we measure success? The primary success metric would be, of course, how many did we meet our goal? How many trees did we plant? Some other success measures that I think would be valuable for the city if they were to adopt this would be the number of volunteers who get involved. So Schiffler Park is a great example of an upcoming event where we're asking the community to get involved with planting trees and helping their community. And a year of trees would basically be that on a much larger scale. So I think keeping track of how many people did we get engaged would be a great success measure. Another success measure would be where are the trees planted? Like, did we actually add significant amounts of trees to places that really need them? And then the ease of residents to actually register their trees. So ideally, there would be some sort of system where, you know, if I as like a homeowner plant 3 trees, I could register that somehow and that counts. And like, I get to feel like, oh, like I planted these trees in my yard, but I'm also adding to this vision for the city of like Beaverton wants to be a city full of trees. So the last part of this is we would like to put forward a resolution from the SNAC to in support of a year of trees as an official city project, and something that we want to advocate for the city. And I think our tentative next step is to, if the NAC agrees that this is a good direction to go, is to actually go out to Climate Action Task Force and present to them.
Yeah, I believe Highland is also, you're presenting at Highland this week. Is that correct, Rachel?
That is correct.
We did the same resolution. So we have at least 2 neighborhoods on board with this before we take it to the Climate Action Task Force. And they know we're coming. I spoke with a couple members yesterday So they know we're coming and they're really excited about this, by the way. Any
Now,
questions?
if there's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are there any questions for Rachel or for the team?
I don't have a question. I just want to say amazing work. Super duper love the idea. I think it's a great way to build community and also address very real world impacts of climate change. So kudos to you all for coming up with a really creative strategy to bolster, community involvement and also, tackle tangible items that will help address climate change. So as always, in awe and amazed with all of you.
Yeah, I echo that. That was great. It's really exciting. Great.
That's my favorite thing about it is first of all, it's Rachel's idea. Like, we worked on it, but this was her original idea, and we helped kind of put some of the framework in place. But this was her idea. But like, I immediately felt hope after doom scrolling for the last 5 years on climate change, and this feels something like that can actually give people something positive to do and make you feel better about your community. And we get all the tangible benefits of trees. We get, we all know that, but it just like that feeling is really important. I love like the whole entirety of this. It just changes the narrative, right? Instead of doom scrolling and everything is awful and every model that comes back is worse than the one before, let's do something about it. And this gives people an actual way to do that. And I think it feels pretty good.
Yeah, and what I would love to see is like, if we do this, if it succeeds, like other cities would have like a blueprint of like, oh, this city planted 10,000 trees. How do they do that? Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's a really good point, Rachel. And what is the name of the order? Basically, it's a recognition ceremony. It's national, and certain Beaverton
Tree
neighborhoods.
City.
Huh?
Tree City, Arbor Day Foundation.
No, it's the NAC.
Oh, the NISA?
Yeah. But anyway, like, and I think some Beaverton neighborhoods in the past have been recognized nationally for that. And this is something that would get us nationally recognized again for the purposes of spreading that message to other neighborhoods. Because I think you can think of, cool, that's, that this is amazing for Beaverton and more specific, well, yeah, for Beaverton, but like, how can we have that cascade to other cities, other states, and this is the type of exercise and movement that can get national attention. So that's awesome.
All right, I see some raised hands. I think I saw Tom first.
Really quick, I just wanted to say on NUSA, we also sponsor NAC folks to attend NUSA in person. So anyway, there's a chance you could go if it was recognized, you submit the application to receive recognition for it, but then you also get to travel somewhere really cool and receive the recognition in person, and we pay for that. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Tom, go for it.
Okay, I have several thoughts and or comments, and I'm sure that I'm probably going to forget at least 2 of them. So that's probably for the best. First off, and I think this is maybe the most important way. So we've mentioned, we lose more trees than we've got a net loss of that. And I know, I think we all do, most of that is coming from development and redevelopment. And what I'm wondering, obviously, at the NAC level, we can ask about, the city to include some more rigorous language in development code, but at least for Central Beaverton, anything that requires a neighborhood review meeting, I know we regularly address this just through questions, but one of the things that we might consider as part of this is to say, hey, from the NAC, we're not going to just accept a replacement of what's required. We would like to request that any development that is going to come through here, expect that we're going to ask you to increase the canopy and not just replace. Since we do get a lot of development, it's at least a good way to start. The other thing is, I was wondering, do you have any plans to get in touch with the city arborist?
Haven't yet. The one time, the time I've contacted them, I got one response and then I replied with a question and then I haven't heard from them ever since.
Sure, and
So,
yeah, I know
yeah,
they're
I don't
busy, and
know.
they never they don't necessarily handle a lot of like public facing stuff. They're not used to I think people getting interested in that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of places that 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 we can at least start to. I know there had been previous talk of trying to get the city to do like a new tree survey and things like this. So anyway, I think that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you. Kevin.
When is the Climate Action Task Force meeting that you are presenting at?
I haven't asked to be on their schedule yet because I want to see how this meeting and Highlands meeting go. I think they meet on the third Monday of each month, so I could potentially get agenda time this month, but it would otherwise it would probably be in March.
Okay. And then the second follow-up question is, I got together with the Neighbors Southwest NAC chair this last week, and she was talking a lot with me about all of their thoughts about Cooper Mountain development and loss of trees, and I think this is something they would be really interested in. They meet next Tuesday at 7, and I would be happy to share it there if you want.
That would be awesome.
To present it. Okay, if you can share like the PowerPoint or the resolution that we want to make all together, I think we get another NAC on.
That would be perfect. That would be excellent. Yeah, I will pass that on to you to handle. Thank you.
If I can get on the agenda, I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
late notice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Jonathan.
Yeah, I just thought of something it'd be pretty cool if we could do. Like I've noticed a lot that trees get cut down for whatever reason, and then there's just a stump. Like I know it's expensive to get a stump ground up. So I don't know if it's possible, but if we could offer like grants or financial assistance to help pay for stump grinding, because that would, I think a lot of people would replant a tree, but they don't or can't afford necessarily to grind the stump and then have a spot for a tree. Like I've seen street tree stumps, like my neighbor has a huge stump in their front yard. So I think that'd be a cool thing we could do if possible, that then could encourage more tree planting.
Yeah, that's a good call out.
I don't know if it's possible to give grants for that from us, or like how it could work, but if it was something we could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, possibly like, we're kind of thinking like, what do we want to put in like to a proposal to the city, and like that could definitely be part of it. I'm gonna write that down really quick because otherwise I will definitely forget. All right, and Tom.
Just in terms of coordinating with other community organizations, I do have the contact for, I think, the current chair of CPO1, the Washington County community, and they were very interested. I know Bruce was here a couple of months ago, I think, just sitting in on our meeting, and I know they were interested in coordinating more, especially on projects like this. So whatever information, if you've got any sort of packet or even that PowerPoint, then I'll go ahead and pass it on to them, and we can see about working, because it just makes sense because there are usually neighbors across the street. So
yeah, that sounds great. I will pass on what I have to you, and then can I leave that to you to do that coordination?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, and Franziska.
Yeah, I just had one last question. Have you given thought for how, I mean, maybe you've already talked about it already, but like how you would get folks to register? Like, would you create like a web page, or like how would that registration then connect with a map that then gets updated to see where trees are planted? I don't understand technology around kinds of things, but I'm sure at least some discussion's been had.
Yeah, I think what we would propose is like getting city resources to help do that. And we've started outlining you know, what would it take to support this kind of project? And that is definitely on the list. I also don't know exactly what it would look like. Like we would kind of need like several systems, right? Like, you know, private, you know, just residents planting their own trees, people who want to volunteer to plant trees somewhere else. And like, how do you tie in like other, you know, if we get like Friends of Trees, for example, like how do we tie in with them?
Sure.
So far we've like are putting together a list of like things that we know we want, and but we haven't thought about like actual implementation of any of those systems yet.
Yeah, I know our GIS folks can do some pretty fancy stuff with mapping. But yeah, I was just trying to figure out how they would like have folks enter, like, you know, would it be an address and number of trees or coordinates, or anyway, I'm probably getting
right. Yeah, I actually had exactly like, what is the easiest way for people to enter this information?
Oh, yeah, cool. Awesome. Great.
And John and Quinn?
I was going to add that a significant part of it would be, of the ask would be that the city do tree giveaways. So as part of the giveaway, you have to maybe, if you want a free tree or a subsidized tree, you give us your address where it's going to be planted, and we can capture the data at that point. We could also partner with Friends of Trees, and the city sponsors 1,000 free trees or something like that, right? And then the Friends of Trees they already have the infrastructure to capture that data. So there would certainly be a manual input portion of this that would need to be tie-in for like when you go to a nursery or Home Depot and buy a tree, we'd want to capture that data. But I think a significant part of it would be those kind of third-party and sponsored events that we would do. Particularly if, I mean, obviously any tree is good, but I would really like to see the city subsidize climate local trees and climate resilient trees, right? Like ones that can survive 110-degree temperatures and then turn around and survive 6 months of flooding, right? Like that's the key here, is because what we don't want to do is plant all these trees and have them die and then be back where we were. So like the events would be a key driver in this, and not just, oh, this is pretty at Home Depot, I'll go plant this tree and it dies a year later, right?
Yeah, or having people plant like a bunch of tree of heaven or nuisance invasives.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is where like OSU extension could be like a huge, like a very powerful partner for this project.
For sure.
You guys have really thought this through. I'm very, very impressed and very excited to see how the Climate Action Task Force can hopefully help take this and leverage it, you know, at a city level. Because obviously they're the body, you know, that could really help to move this forward in a significant way.
Yeah, that's our strategy, is to get multiple neighborhoods to endorse this, punt it up to the Climate Action Task Force, and then it becomes like a partnership between the neighborhoods, the Climate Action Task Force, and then it goes to City Council, and we say, you kind of have to do this now, right? We demand it.
And with that, is it resolution time? Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
All right, looks like none. Rachel, that was fantastic. That was great. Thanks so much. Really well done. Really well done. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah, and like I did the presenting, but again, big thanks to John and Kinsey for also helping and pitching and making sure I don't do dumb stuff in the slide deck.
All right, great. Okay, few more things to go.
Brian, we need to make the motion and get the NAC to officially support that. So
we do.
Yeah, just because we want it to be an official motion resolution in support of the Year of Tree event.
Okay.
So I can make the motion. I'll make a motion that Central Beaverton supports the concept of the creation of Year of Tree.
Okay, I second the motion. All those in favor?
Boom.
Okay, great. All right, thanks for your help on that, John. All right.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Super. We have a developer, Sera Designs. John, I thought I saw you there, John Smith. There is a potential mixed-use development on Broadway, 12230 Southwest Broadway. John, are you there, and are you ready to present?
Yeah, actually, I'm Kurt Schultz with Sera Architects, and I'm going to be presenting tonight, Brian.
Okay. All right, that works. So,
all right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll give the floor to you, Kurt. So go ahead and give whatever intro you want, and then yeah, if you've got
That's
something
terrific. Well, I really appreciate you asking us to join your meeting tonight. And I'm Kurt Schultz. I'm a principal with Sera Architects. We're based in downtown Portland, and we specialize in kind of urban work, a lot of urban infill, and are highly committed to sustainability. And we're working with Mill Creek Residential Trust. They're a developer that is proposing a mixed-use housing project in downtown Beaverton. And we just wanted to share the project with you tonight and let you know it's happening and show you a little bit about it. And so you can follow its progress and reach out to us with questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Is my screen coming through? Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure is, Kurt.
All right. Yep. Thank you, John. I'll come back to the image in a second. So again, we're working with Mill Creek Residential Trust. They are a mixed-use housing developer. They're also committed to sustainability. They LEED certify all their projects, and this will be a LEED certified project as well in the downtown core. You know, a lot of the work we've been doing for Mill Creek has been in urban locations in downtown Portland, but they've recently been extremely interested in developing in the downtown Beaverton core. They have another project that's going on kind of over by the Kaiser Clinic off of Beaverton Hillsdale Highway, but this would be their first project in the downtown core of Beaverton. So the site that they've purchased for this new development is about 2.7 acres. It's this really funny trapezoidal site that is just south of Broadway. So this is Broadway where my cursor is. This is Hall. And then to the kind of the northeast, there's this dead end fragment that's actually named Beaverton Hillsdale Highway, but it only is, you know, about 300 feet long, and then it dead ends against the commuter rail, which is over along Lombard Street. And then the project also is separated from Farmington Road by the Southern Pacific Railway line that crosses the southern portion of the site. So it's a very interesting site. This definitely is mostly undeveloped at this point. This site is also in the kind of new downtown zone, and has to follow the new downtown design review process that was recently adopted here over the last couple of years. So here's where the property I'm talking about is, that 2.7 acres. It's in the Beaverton Central Zone, the RCBC zone in the kind of downtown design area. It's not in the historic overlay that is primarily around Broadway, but it's close to it. It's basically across the street from that historic overlay. And so this project needs to go through a downtown design review. You have two choices when you're doing a downtown design review. You can either follow all the standards that are required in the downtown district, And in that case, you go through what's called a type 2 staff only review. Or if you want to not follow a lot of the standards that are in that, you can go to a more discretionary type 3 design review that goes to the Planning Commission. We've actually elected to follow and comply with all the standards in the downtown design zone. And so our project is going through a type 2 review right now. And we actually just submitted our type 2 application to the city of Beaverton, and it's in the middle of its completeness review right now. So again, the existing site is this funny trapezoidal shape. It's kind of like leftover properties. Here's Broadway to the north. Southwest East Avenue kind of tees right in to the site on the top. And then here's that dead end street of Southwest Beaverton Hillsdale Highway. It must have connected at one time, but it's been disconnected to anything for quite some time. Apparently there used to be a transit station, bus transit station on this leg before, which is why you see all those kind of angled sidewalks, because that's where the buses used to pull up. Right now, the main building on this site is this little L-shaped 1-story retail building where Ringo's Bar and Grill is right here on the corner. I think Stark's Lawn and Garden are also down on the other end of the building. Otherwise, it's primarily all kind of surface parking and gravel. So the SP Railroad easement kind of divides our site from Southwest Farmington Road. So what Mill Creek is proposing is, actually I wanted to go back and mention one other thing. In the zoning here in the RC-BC district, we actually would be allowed to build a building as tall as 120 feet high, which would be about a 12-story building. That is not what Mill Creek is proposing. They're actually proposing a shorter building, essentially a 5-story building. So they're proposing a 5-story building with 312 residential units that will be a combination of studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. They're also proposing to have about 4,000 square feet of retail, and that's all positioned on Broadway Street. We're also building about 319 parking stalls on the site, which is about pretty close to 1 parking stall per residential unit. It's slightly over a little bit over the bare minimum for this zone, which I think is like 0.75 cars per unit. But again, with some larger units here, we wanted to be closer to a 1-to-1 parking ratio, which is usually what we do in most of Portland. So the project, again, is this very funny trapezoidal site. Essentially, as far as the design is concerned, is Broadway is really our primary frontage. Our main entry lobby and leasing office is on Broadway, and that 4,000 square feet of retail space is also fronting on Broadway. So we'll be adding kind of shops or restaurants. We don't know what spaces those are or who the tenants are going to be yet at this point of design, but we definitely wanted to activate Broadway Street. One of the things that surprised us when we were meeting with the city of Beaverton is we had always planned on proposing our parking access to be off of the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway kind of dead end street here. But Beaverton Transportation did not like that because they didn't like the turning radiuses because this street kind of angles into Broadway. So transportation actually asked us or insisted that we make our parking access off of Broadway aligned with East Avenue, which is what you see right here where my cursor is. That's where our main parking access is. We would have much rather taken the parking access somewhere else, but they didn't leave us a lot of choice. So that is our parking is actually all in a structured concrete parking garage. So that parking garage is also 4 stories tall to house the 319 parking stalls that we have on site. But again, our main lobby is off of Broadway. The building then, the residential units continue all the way down to the ground, which is what you see in this kind of darker ochre color. They're set back from Beaverton Hillsdale Highway with kind of patios and stoops. And we've created 2 courtyards for this project. We have an internal courtyard that is enclosed inside the building. And then we have a more public focused courtyard that's off of the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway itself. There's also a lot of stormwater requirements here to capture all of our stormwater. So a lot of this landscaping in these courtyards that you see here in green are stormwater filtration planters to treat all the stormwater before it goes into the city system. So again, this is a 5-story building. The top floor of our building is, because some of the size of this building are so long, we've actually broken it up through the use of some roof terraces up on the 5th floor. So we have a roof terrace right on the corner at the intersection of Beaverton Hillsdale Highway and Broadway that kind of sits over our leasing office. So that would actually be an outdoor terrace that's accessed by some amenity spaces inside the building. So that will have some fire pits and barbecues and landscaping and seating to look out over the city. We also have a second outdoor terrace that's carved out of the southeast corner of the building, kind of facing Farmington Road, that also will kind of carve back the building and create kind of a gateway on Farmington Road on this kind of triangular corner. It also will have an amenity space that spills out onto it. We also have extensive balconies. We have pretty much all of our kind of 2-bedroom units that are on Beaverton Hillsdale Highway and Broadway have large recessed balconies. And then along Farmington Road, a lot of our 1-bedroom units have balconies as well. So the building has a lot of articulation to it. And again, there's a lot of very specific standards that we have to comply with for the building to meet the downtown design review guidelines for this particular zone. The building is going to be primarily brick in its material along Broadway that is more kind of in keeping with the more historic buildings that are aligning Broadway. Even though we're not in the historic district, we have primarily brick facades on Broadway. And then on the other sides of the building, we're actually using a composite wood siding that has kind of a cedar-like appearance on the primary wings of the building. But the way we've designed the building is really looking at Broadway as our primary frontage. And also, again, not only using the brick to kind of work with the context of the historic scale of the buildings and all the lower shops on Broadway, we also took the brick up to 4 stories only and then changed our material at the top as a way to, again, kind of reduce the scale of our building. So it's a little bit more in context with the height of the other buildings on Broadway itself. This is the main entry to the building. The main entry lobby is actually a double height space. So all these spaces on Broadway are 2 floors tall, so with a very tall ceiling. So those retail spaces and the lobby will have like a 17 to 18 foot tall ceiling, which will be really great. So we really want to create a really great pedestrian experience on Broadway. So there's canopies over the main entry. There'll be a variety of small shops. This is our main lobby, and then our main leasing office is in kind of this hinge piece. And this is actually where the top of this hinge piece is where we have an outdoor roof terrace. So we've actually broken the building into two pieces, broken those wings apart with an outdoor kind of landscape and roof terrace that's accessed from the club rooms and community rooms inside the building. And then we're doing a similar element to this over on Farmington Road. The wings of the building that are not on Broadway will have the cedar siding on the lower 4 floors, transitioning to a fiber cement material on the top floor to kind of reduce the scale of the building. The buildings do have an overhanging cornice, which is a requirement of the downtown design guidelines. But we also are designing this building to be highly sustainable, as well as creating a really walkable downtown. So again, we're pursuing a LEED certification for the project, and we're in the process of going through the LEED certification as we speak. I think we're expecting that the land use process will probably be done in probably about 2 months or so, and we'd be submitting for permits. I would say in the very late spring, early summer, and construction will probably start toward the end of this year and will commence through most of 2023. So I think you'd probably see the project getting finished close to the end of 2023. But again, we wanted to introduce you to the project and let you know what was coming to your neighborhood. And we wanted to see if you had any comments or questions of the design team that we could use to inform our design as we move forward. So with that, I think I'll see if there's any questions.
Great, thank you. I think we do have some questions. Hey, Jonathan, I think your hand was up. Do you have a question, or you retract that? So Quinn and John.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, number one, I'm really excited for something to happen here. This has been kind of a dead zone for a while. So I'm happy to see this. Can you talk about, for your garage, one of the city's priorities, and I don't know if you were here for the last presentation or if you caught any of it, we're really concerned about electric car charging for rental units. Is that going to be applicable to your garage?
It is. We will be having ERV charging inside the building. Mill Creek does that in all their projects. And at this point, I actually don't know how many charging stations we're going to have, but we usually have, anywhere from 3 to 6 in all of our projects.
Okay. And then I think I saw bike parking on the rendering. I'm assuming like bike storage. Did I see that, or am I making that up?
You did. Actually, we have bike storage inside our building. So we actually have a bike storage room on every floor, actually a couple of them on every floor. So we're going to have both bike storage outside the building for short-term bike parking, but for long-term bike parking for the residents of the building, we're going to have secure storage inside the building, as well as bike racks mounted inside their units.
Perfect. And then my final question / comment, for the garage entrance, I think I kind of share what you're feeling. That makes me a little nervous there. I wish it could have come from Beaverton Hillsdale Highway as well. That feels less pedestrian oriented over there. And I'm nervous about the interaction. So I'm going to go on record as saying I disagree with Beaverton traffic assessment. And I think I would have much preferred, understand their point. But I also think, like we put too much priority on, in this city on giving cars everything. And I for the downtown area, I put a priority on pedestrian experience and safety. And so I understand that you guys had to do that, but I wish it could have been elsewhere. And I wish they would have listened to your original recommendations.
Yeah, frankly, we were shocked, to put it mildly, that we had to do that. What it really came down to was the only way that we could have put it on Beaverton Hillsdale Highway is if the adjacent property owner was willing to give up a lot of his land to kind of create more of a turning radius on Broadway. But that wasn't something that they were interested in talking about or pursuing. So yeah, I would always, to me, Broadway is a great street. I love going, I don't live too far from here, and I love going onto Broadway, and it's a great pedestrian experience. But I think despite the fact of the vehicular entry there, I think we're putting a lot of emphasis on creating a great pedestrian experience on Broadway as much as we possibly can.
I think you'll find a lot of support from this neighborhood for any investments in pedestrian. We are not an anti-development neighborhood. We want investment in our neighborhood, particularly in the area you're developing near the max. That's how we become sustainable long term. So I think you'll find a good partner with this. Yeah, we're really protective of our trees and our pedestrian and biking experiences. So thank you for this. Appreciate you coming and spending time with us.
And I think at last count, we're planting approximately 70 trees in this development.
Yeah, we saw that. I appreciate that. That's really helpful.
I think Rachel, you were next.
Hey, yeah, this looks really great. It's great to see more density coming to the area. My first question was, could you share a breakdown of like how many studio, or like the ratio, like studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units there are?
I'm gonna have to do it off the top of my head, but I would say that they're probably the ratio of studios is probably lower than say what we would do in downtown Portland, but I'm guessing that our ratio is going to be probably about 15% studios, probably in the range of 45 to 50% 1 bedrooms, and then the balance being 2 bedrooms and probably just a handful of 3 bedrooms.
Great. The other question I had was, so it's pretty close to the railroad there. Is there any like sound, I don't know what you call it. Have you thought about like how to dampen the sound at all that would come from the railroad there?
Yeah, no, we're not building any kind of a sound wall or anything like that. What we're doing is just upgrading the acoustics for all the exterior walls, particularly adjacent to the railroad, both the acoustic rating of the walls and the windows, and that we usually find that's the best solution.
Got it. And then
rather than building walls.
Gotcha. And then I guess the last thing I have is more of a comment, but it would be great to get more than just a handful of EV parking spaces in that parking garage. Like if we could see an increase, just to encourage more people to actually, like when they're making car purchasing decisions, to not have it be like just 3 to 6 spots. Because then people think, oh, maybe electric cars aren't for me. I would just say like, it would be great to see more than that in the parking garage.
Yeah, often what happens is with a lot of these developments is we start off with a fixed number, and then every time we get closer to completion, the number keeps going up and going up because of the demand. So that may be where it's starting, but it's probably not going to be where it's ending.
Okay, that's great context to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan, do you have a question now?
Yeah, there's like a really big old oak on the corner. Is that being saved, or was there any effort to save that tree?
There is a big oak right here on the corner. It's actually being studied by arborists as we speak. It's my understanding that there is some rot and disease in that tree, but we haven't got our full arborist report on that yet. So I'll let you know.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Kevin?
Yep, I am here. Okay. I've got a few questions, a few comments. One, I think it was Rachel who brought up the sound. I lived nearby for a couple years, right near the train tracks. I know a lot of my neighbors actually moved out because the train was so loud when it would blast its horn.
Yeah.
I know the city's been working on a quiet zone, and that's very needed. But if you can put any pressure on anybody who's working on that, or if you have any conversations with the railroad, or I don't know, if you have any conversations, feel free to put some pressure on that, because it needs to happen and it just takes a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure our developer Mill Creek is interested in the same thing, so I'll remind them to put pressure.
Yeah. Second point. There's that walking path on the east side of the property. Is there a connector from the property to that walking path? It's right near that oak that Jonathan mentioned.
Yeah, it's actually just outside our property lines.
Yeah, so is it possible to connect like a sidewalk directly to that?
Yeah, actually, we are building a sidewalk right here as well that is going to connect up to the sidewalk on Beaverton Hillsdale Highway. So there will be a connection there.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And then I'm thinking about green space for dogs. I know when I lived downtown, I had a dog, and there's not much green space in downtown. So it's really hard for people when they're trying to take their dogs out. I see you've got some. It's hard for me to conceptualize in my brain, like, is this enough space for somebody to walk their dog? What are your thoughts?
You know, it's interesting that surprised me is how much of our landscaping outside the building is all stormwater planters. So you can see where my cursor here and even up here on this corner are all stormwater planters. And even along the back of the building is stormwater landscaping. So there really isn't a lot of what I would call, dog areas only that aren't in stormwater planters that have like the little barriers around them. And then they have a very different kind of plantings inside the stormwater. So, you'll be able to walk your dog around the edges of the stormwater planters, but you're not going to be able to take them into them. So, so we don't have that kind of, what you call it, the flat green space that you might be asking for.
Yeah. Because I thought there is, I'm not sure what this paved area is on the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway chunk.
Yeah, that's right. A little that's publicly accessible open space, so it is paved.
And what about right above that?
These are actually our electrical vaults, which are buried.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I was looking north of your property line. That's not under your control.
No.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so something I've seen in some other projects in downtown is they build their street lights really tall, like 15 feet or higher, and the lights shine into the bedrooms right next to it. And it just seems like a quality of life issue for the neighbors there. And so I would encourage you to look at the height of the lighting, and if the tops can be shielded and like beneath the height of the windows, I think that just improves the quality of life for the neighboring residents.
That's actually a great point. I'll have us look into that.
Yeah, thanks.
I know we proposed a street lighting plan for our land use review, but I actually haven't looked to see the number of poles and the height of poles. Because I usually prefer shorter poles and more of them. Yeah,
me too. And then last point I have is I'm really excited that there is something happening on this property. I think it's been underutilized for a long time. I am really sad about the loss of some of these older businesses that have been here for a while, like Ringo's. And it just makes me sad that they're not going to be there. And then the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway that used to be a railroad running through Beaverton about 60 years ago. Just for some historical context.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'm sure Mill Creek and their leasing agents are going to be talking to some of those small business owners to see if they would be interested in relocating into this building.
Yeah, I know they have. It just going without a space during construction is hard. So it's a hard spot to be in.
Yeah, it's like a 18-month to 2-year window.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, thanks. I'll let other people go.
Okay, great. David, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I did. I actually had two quick questions. First was, what level of lead are you actually seeking for this building?
Typically with Mill Creek, we seek the LEED Silver certification. We've done some that are higher than that, but that's usually the baseline.
Just more curiosity than anything. I'm pleased that you're doing it at all. And then the other one is actually a link that I'm going to post in the chat. I'm not sure you mentioned what you're going to use to mask the multi-level parking structure, but they can be a bit of an eyesore.
Yep.
Would it be possible to incorporate something like they've done in Singapore a lot, which granted is a much more rich climate for plant growth, but they incorporate a lot of like green walls on the side of their parking structures, which make them very aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't necessarily fit in with the rest of the building's aesthetic, but could potentially be incorporated as such, and would potentially bump up your LEED certification level and catch rainwater for that large surface area.
It's interesting because the city of Beaverton code requires us to actually put a metal screen, it's almost very similar to a mesh like you see in a green screen. So we actually are already doing that on the edges of our parking garage to screen the garage and make it more aesthetically pleasing. The only thing we actually hadn't explored was the idea of actually having plantings that could grow up that screen. We could
dropped a link in there.
Landscape architect about that.
Yeah, they look really cool. And there's several local companies that do green roofs and vertical walls, like full integration systems that I'm sure you could work with as well.
Yeah, because we already are doing this the mesh kind of screen anyway.
Cool. Thank you. That's all I had. I'm also excited for this, and I also agree with the I guess dissent regarding the entrance to the parking structure.
Yeah, join the club.
All right. Hey, there's a question from chat. So I'll ask it. It's from Jason Barker. So Kurt, any insight into why they didn't purchase buying the two properties across from Beaverton Hillsdale Highway north of the site to utilize that space also?
Yeah, I think it's because they just weren't up for sale. I'm sure they asked, but no, those properties are not were not actively listed. The only property that was listed that they purchased was this property.
All right, got it. Jefferson, do you still have a question?
Yeah, I got a question. Your design looks great, Kurt. I just got a question about parking, which you'll probably get a lot of. Is that garage just for residents only?
Yes, it is. Just for residents only.
So what would happen to the people who come and visit? Where would they park? Because if you go on Broadway or any of downtown Portland, I mean, Beaverton, sorry, wrong area. Parking is hard to come by. And if a friend comes over and you have 300 units here, that's 300 extra friends. And I'm not saying they'll all show up all at once unless they're having a party. How would that be managed? Do you know?
You know, the one thing that we have, which is unusual, is 90-degree parking all along the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway here. So that's adjacent to our property that provides more parking than we normally would see. But we usually try to make these parking garages secure, just for the residents. So there's usually like a drop down gate, and to prevent anyone from getting into that garage who doesn't live there, because it often can become a security hazard, unfortunately, for the residents of the building.
Thanks. Oh, one more thing is, are you guys going to have gates around your building? Because what if a child runs out, like a family who lives in there, and there's a TriMet?
No, we typically don't. So like say, this is actually all kind of public space here in this kind of triangular courtyard space. So there is no gates preventing anyone from using that area. And then I guess the courtyard is completely enclosed, so that's completely secure. But no, we typically don't fence the entire project.
All right, thanks, Kurt.
All right. Super. Thank you, Kurt. Any more questions for Kurt? David, your hand is still up, but I think that's probably because you didn't lower the hand, so to
Did
speak.
not lower it.
All right, it's lowered. Okay. Any other questions for Kurt? Well, super. Thanks so much, Kurt. Really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to hear about the project, and hope you keep track of it, and we may even come back and see you again. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. Yeah, certainly
right.
appreciate that. That was very good. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. Okay, one more issue to discuss, folks. This is not a formal look at a design, but we just had some communications since the January NAC about a proposed, I believe it's a senior care facility at Menlo and Fairmount, which is I think close to Fairmount and Farmington. And so there's concerns by residents. So I talked to the nearby resident communicated with me. Got in touch with the developer, kind of heard the developer's pitch. There is a upcoming community outreach session for nearby neighbors that the developer is holding to discuss the issue more in depth. But we just thought it might be a good idea to have the developer, I don't know if we have the developer on or not, but if not, then have the citizen who contacted us just kind of raise a few issues and just have us, the board, listen to it, give advice, ask questions, and help guide on this issue. So I will ask Eddie, EPR Design, I didn't see you on the chat, but if you're around.
No, he emailed me at about 7:30 and said that his daughter was sick.
Okay.
I forwarded you the email. I tried to
Oh,
let you
okay.
know that there was an email in your inbox. So he won't be attending tonight, unfortunately.
Okay, good, thanks. Tom, did you have a?
Yeah, I just wanted to point it because you mentioned that there was a community outreach meeting. So what Brian means is they have opted to hold their own neighborhood review meeting. This is not a project that you would expect to see coming to us, say, in March or April because of further development for the actual neighborhood review meeting. So depending on what the takeaway here, I believe their communication to us, I got the letter because I used to be chair, and so they still had my address, is February 17th, I believe.
Yeah.
Is and I would encourage, especially since there has been some coordinated neighbor feedback, maybe some of us to make sure that we attend that if possible. I will plan on attending that. If other people are available, I think that would be good. I mean, that's the prerogative of developers. I believe the development code says that they should be coordinating through the NACs for these. And I don't know if Kevin, you have any feedback on that type of how that's viewed by, for example, planning commission or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think code specifies that it has to be a NAC meeting. I think it just has to be a public meeting. From my
Code, I believe, I just looked at this a couple of days ago. I don't have it up, but code does say that it should be coordinated through the NAC chair or board.
Okay, I hadn't noticed that.
So I believe that is, you get first right of refusal to that, but I believe the NAC meeting is the preferred venue, and that is in the code language.
Huh, interesting.
So I believe that, and Brian, you can confirm, they did not approach you about having a neighborhood
I didn't receive it.
meeting?
I thought it might have been a changeover issue, but I searched high and low. I didn't get anything.
So I just wanted to put that in context,
Yeah.
because I know we have had groups that just we haven't had room on an agenda or over a month or two, and people need to get their projects underway, but they at least approached the sitting the chair to try and get on NAC agenda time. So anyway.
So I'll invite, so David Owen is a nearby resident. So David, if we've only got a few minutes left, we will try to finish by 9 or as close to that as possible. But if you can kind of maybe just summarize sort of your take on the development, and then see if anyone has any comments, questions, feedback. In addition to, yeah, it's a good idea. If any, I think I can attend the 17th as well. But all of us, I think, could also go to that meeting on the 17th.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize, I'm about to talk very fast. But I just wanted to share with you guys some information regarding the actual proposal. So this is just a quick presentation I threw together, and I don't know how it's gonna work. So the actual details of it, it's a 0.43 acre currently zoned R10 lot. And the proposal is for a 45-bed facility with memory care endorsement, which means that the first floor would be treating Alzheimer's and dementia patients. The total square footage of the facility would be 15,090 square feet with a 75-45 footprint. And that doesn't include any of the parking spaces or anything. You'll see on the next slide, they basically absolutely maps out what the building code allows. They've allocated 11 parking spaces for the facility. It's currently, of course, Menlo and Fairmount are both unlined residential streets. There's a few properties that are urban high density, but beyond that, it's all R10 or R4 at max. Proposal includes a reduction of the setback distance on Fairmount from 25 feet down to 10 feet, which puts it actually 15 feet in front of the neighbor's house. And with a 5-foot easement reduction, it would essentially be this massive 2-story building sitting, right up against the street. And realistically, they would need to be seeking R1 conditional or a actual commercial classification in the middle of other residential properties and on residential streets. So just for reference, this is the initial floor plan that was provided to us as the residents. It includes the removal of 3 mature trees on the lot, which is distinctly relevant to the previous conversations in this, with no replacement plan. As you can see, it's pretty much going right up to the easement limits on all of the properties. This neighbor on tax lot 5400 was actually approached about a year ago by this developer and paid $500 to sign over an easement reduction under kind of misleading circumstances. They told him that it would be a small facility. Of course, none of this is on record from him, but that is his sentiment toward it, was that he was intentionally misled as to the scale of the facility, because he would not have signed it over as such. So you can see it pretty much is up against the street. There's no sidewalk on Fairmount, so the 10-foot easement is up to the pavement. So it would be, like I said, 15 feet in front of this neighbor's house with a 2-story wall right here. They have allocated 700 square feet of outdoor space and then 11 parking spots with the requisite loading, unloading zone and garbage areas. But this is absolute minimum. And in fact, from what I can tell, based on federal requirements of staffing and talking to some of the other facilities in the area about how they staff, insufficient. They would need 1 additional parking space just to meet staff requirements, which would be overflow into Eichler Park. And then that does not include any visitors. Just for reference, this is the subject property as it stands in May 2019. Since then, they've removed this tree in the front yard and have actually left, also relevant to earlier this meeting, have left the stump and this trunk just kind of sitting there, not being touched. They also had to have the city called on them because they left the entire property in kind of disarray for about a year. And finally, this neighbor in the yellow house called the city on them after he could not get a hold of the owner and was pretty deeply dismayed by the condition that the property had fallen into. Just a summary, I actually went and canvassed the entire street because the code stated that they only needed to notify residents within a 500-foot radius. And given that the lots in this area are fairly large due to protected wetlands and flood zone, they aren't actually able to be developed. So the lots have remained large. They're about half acre each. Was only about 6 residents. So I made sure that the entire street was notified, and this is just kind of a general summary of their concerns. The biggest one was just that it wasn't the right fit for the adjacent community, and that was very supported by the parking allocation. In a quote by Edward Radulescu, who's the developer, regarding another facility that I have shown in the next slide. They allocated 13 spots for a 52-bed facility with the exact statement of they aren't expecting visitors, which doesn't really seem like the right fit for a Beaverton residential neighborhood that could be walked to. There's, in fact, another old folks home on our street. It looks like a house, and they're all active. They walk down the street, and they're friendly and pleasant to interact with, and this would be very different in nature. The scale and very distinct commercial nature of the facility, as you'll see on the next slide, it just doesn't fit in with the neighborhood, even in the slightest. The parking seems like it will rely on street parking, particularly Eichler Park parking, to accommodate any visitors and, in fact, realistically sufficient staff. And that does not include deliveries, visiting medical professionals, paramedics, et cetera, all the other things required to upkeep this sort of facility. Of course, there's the obvious impact of the street aesthetic due to the stark contrast with the adjacent properties. We're a single-story house street. There's basically only one single-story or two-story house, and that's the other care facility, which looks residential. There is, of course, the potential for reduced property values in adjacent homes. Studies throughout national venues don't really support one way or the other, but just given the scale and talking to our real estate agent, she thinks that there's no way that our house will be as valuable after this. The development time and impact to traffic flow is also a major concern. Menlo in particular is a through street. It's mostly a residential through street, but I know a lot of people that use it as their primary way to Allen and Farmington. And this would potentially be blocked by construction equipment. Edward Radulescu's similar facility built in Southeast had a 4-year development time. So the potential for staging area impacts, worker parking, and just general mess is a very long scale of time. The other concern is that it's a removal of a single family home when we're in a massive home shortage. The supply was basically zeroed for a long time in Beaverton. I know we bought a house about 2 years ago, and we put in offers on 15 properties before we even heard back from anybody. And that was kind of the nature of it. And commercial properties are also in excess right now because everybody's gone to remote working and so many businesses have closed. So it seems like they could look elsewhere relatively easily, including over by Buffalo Wild Wings, which is a larger lot that is currently zoned commercial and undeveloped. They're also planning the removal of 3 mature trees in a designated tree city, one of which they already cut down, which is unfortunate because it was very nice. And it would also remove 35 or 0.35 acres of green space, which is what's left over after the house and driveway are gone. It's also very adjacent to protected wetlands and a stream. And of course, groundwater impacts are there. And then they just had a general lack of community concern per the not mowing the yard and the trunk that's been there for a year and a half. Just as reference, this is another facility that Edward Radulescu developed. This is 52 beds on a 0.88 acre lot. So you can see just kind of the scale of how this facility will fit in. And this is actually even a significantly larger lot. This has 3,000 square feet of green space for residents versus 700 square feet, but I'm actually not positive where that differential is being made up versus this lot size. It makes me very nervous. As stated, this is the facility that they didn't expect many visitors for. but this one is located on Southeast Start Street. So it's a 4-lane light controlled intersection with a turn lane commercial corridor, which makes it at least more appropriate. Every building around it is zoned R1. And in the middle of development, this facility actually was sold. So it originally was for one company that held the old folks home, or sorry, I don't know the correct term, residential care facility. And then it got sold in the middle, creating that 4-year development time, and it got re-proposed, and within the same footprint got some additional beds added, which is fine. It just pushed out the actual date. So this is a before and after of that facility. Based on the floor plan, this is essentially identical to what they would be putting in. So you can imagine that nice white house being turned into this 10 feet back from Fairmount, and how that would impact the street. This is the side view. This would be essentially the same loading area that would be present off of Menlo. So this street right here running at an angle would be the equivalent of Menlo. And this would be the loading unloading zone. They took down all these plants, which severely impacted the property value of this house. And then this is an example of the impact to street parking. So if you actually go in and look, there's very few people actually parked in the lot, and all of these streets, there's no other businesses nearby to account for this parking. So I anticipate that these are either visitors or are staff that are told to park on the street, so that the visitor spots remain open, because 8 spots is actually insufficient even for the federal code regarding just caregivers, who are the CNAs, not including nurses, directors, janitorial staff, kitchen staff, etc. They would also potentially have human and medical waste stored in the outside trash bins. Don't know the pickup schedule on that. This is the side view of this. So this would be what faced Menlo. And this is just really quickly another comparable facility that's done well in Beaverton. So this is Avamere, which is a similar size facility in terms of beds, a little bit larger, but it's located on a 2.3 acre lot off of Allen. So a much more commercial street surrounded by R1 and with reasonable setbacks and green barriers and parking. So it can be done well, and we have no opposition to this facility. In fact, there is a need for this kind of facility in Beaverton. It just feels like a place that is easy walking distance to parks and downtown restaurants, and literally up the street from the high school is a distinctly inappropriate place for people who are literally not allowed to leave the facility because they are a danger to themselves. And that's it. Sorry, that was a little bit long.
That's okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, David. And again, unfortunately, the developer wasn't able to make it. So anyway, comments, questions, suggestions. Again, there is a meeting on the 17th to go into more detail about this, but so it'd be good for David to come express his thoughts on this and see if there's any advice or suggestions from the board. Quinn, John, go ahead.
Well, question for Kevin. Kevin, would this come to the Planning Commission? And if it would, I would highly recommend that would be a meeting you would want to go to and present to them. I've always found that the Planning Commission can get a lot more concessions out of developers than we can. I don't know, Kevin, thoughts?
Yeah. So David, just for clarification of my role here, I'm also on City of Beaverton Planning Commission. Mm-hmm. If this is a type 3 application, Planning Commission will see it. Now, if it's like type 1 or type 2, that staff review, which like the last proposal that we just heard, despite its size, complied with a lot of the guidelines and codes. So it didn't need to come to Planning Commission. I haven't heard anything about this, so I don't know what the plan is. We don't hear a Planning Commission schedule except for like a month out. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what the developer says about process.
So do you see anything that's conditional use for zoning? Because residential care is conditional use for R, R10? Yeah.
Yeah, so the property is currently R10.
Yeah.
So there is, sorry, there is one conditional use property on our street, but everything else is just R10 residential.
Right, so I just didn't, I am unclear on the staff review versus planning commission review. So if it goes, I don't know if conditional reviews or conditional uses are automatically into a type 3 or not.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure.
I would kind of expect it to be, but
Yeah.
I expect a lot of things that I get, so.
Is this something, Franziska, is this something you could look into to figure out what type of review process this will be? Is that something you can
certainly look into it. At first I thought you were going to ask me, do I know? And I was going to be like, absolutely not. But I can definitely look into it.
Yeah, because that will inform us. If we know what kind of review process is, that will inform us on what role we can play versus what we can advise.
Sure.
That'd be really helpful.
Sure. Yeah, I can send out that email to the board, and I'll obviously include David in that email as well.
Yeah, let's keep it, because if it's a type 3, then definitely the planning commission is the place to go. And I think you have some well-reasoned arguments.
Yes, David, if you could, I'm going to put in the chat here my email address. If you could send me the specific address and associated information for this project, I can ask my CDD colleagues what kind of review process it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I can also send you the contact from the zoning commission that actually dealt with their previous proposal, which was a 2/3 scale facility that did not require any community review process.
Okay.
They were unable to tell me what actually occurred. They didn't know to arrest that application, but it was approved and it was ready to go through. I guess my question for you guys is, if something occurs where this does not require a planning commission review, or is able to kind of bypass that, is there anything we can kind of do to oppose it at a more community level, not necessarily within ordinance? Because I mean, their application is theoretically good in terms of all the ordinances and building guidelines. It just doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be anything that you want in your neighborhood.
Yeah. David, do you mind muting real quick?
Yeah.
I was getting some feedback.
Have to find the screen.
Oh, it sounds better now anyways. Yeah, that's a really good question, David. I don't have like a great answer for you, but from my own perspective, I feel like if this is something that you and the neighbors feel really passionate about, like some developers just don't know, or they're kind of ignorant about the concerns of the community around them. But if they're like, oh, we've got concerns that you'll be looking right down into our backyard, they'll be like, oh, well, maybe we can put up some more like landscape shielding, or move where some of the windows are, or do some minor adjustments. Like the building would likely still come because the developer would want it, but maybe it would be more in line with what you are looking for. So, I mean, my own perspective would just be like, try to really argue for concessions with the developer directly. Tom, it looks like you got something to say.
There is an appeal process. There's a community, there is an appeal process. And I think that, Franziska, can you speak to that? I know Miles has some experience with other NACs doing appeals on developments in their community that didn't necessarily abort that development, but it did alter it so it was more in line with something that the community was accepting of. And I believe his example was the big Murray Shoals shopping center down there on the corner.
I can't speak to it myself. Miles is definitely the land use guru in our program, but he's certainly a wealth of knowledge and is happy to support NACs in their desire to see different changes at the code level.
Right.
So I have actually spoken to Miles. Already. Yeah, Brian connected me with him, and he was a very helpful resource. He walked me through the process. But essentially, if there is not a planning commission review, there's not an appeals ability, unless you can maybe catch it, but essentially you have to be on top of the public records and be contacting, because you won't necessarily be notified. And that was kind of my concern, and especially my concern with their previous proposal, is it was a similarly scaled facility that essentially had no community review process at all, even though it had a lot of these same principles and damage to the environment. And that's actually just kind of a separate point that I wanted to bring up to you guys. That's concerning, because I've lived in Beaverton 6 years, and we walk everywhere and love to go to the downtown. I mean, we're right there. And it feels really strange to me that a developer can come in and purchase a residential plot and essentially, I mean, torch a neighborhood. I've spoken to my neighbors, and essentially all of them are looking into, if this goes through, how they can potentially sell off their land to another commercial developer because of the anticipated property depreciation. And they're planning to do it like ASAP. And that would be between me and my three neighbors, three neighbors, which all have half-acre lots. 2 acres of land, and including 3 sequoias and several redwoods, really beautiful trees that would potentially be at risk, I guess would be the correct term, to this kind of development. I'm originally from the Midwest, and I saw a lot of shopping centers and strip malls kind of do these huge swabs of paving through neighborhoods. And it's really deeply concerning to me to kind of see this start with so little actual pushback. And it surprises me actually that it is even, that the ordinance doesn't restrict it more, I guess I should say.
All right. Well, thanks, David. Were there any other comments, suggestions for David at this point?
Maybe not for David, but for the rest of the board, I will go ahead and send out, Brian, I think you also have the Zoom meeting information for the self-hosted neighborhood review. And I would encourage whomever is available to attend that, because I think that having a good showing from the NAC in support of our neighbors is, what we're here for. So.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we might send that, Tom. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's a physical letter, so I have to go and find it.
I'm happy to forward it to you. I have it already scanned in and everything.
Oh, if you do, then that would be great. And and I'll make sure that it gets out to the other board members that are here in the meeting.
All righty. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Any last minute questions, concerns, comments from anyone?
I have a comment. It's not about anything, just kind of, I guess, promoting my nonprofit in a way of asking for collaboration with NAC. My nonprofit is Wake Up Beaverton. We help immigrants and refugees. And the last 4 years, we've been doing a school supply giveaway at the Beaverton First United Methodist Church. Well, that event has expanded with collaboration with Beaverton School District. So now they're asking us to host 4 events. And I just got off the phone with them before this meeting, 400 backpacks filled with school supplies for each 4 events. So that's 1,200 backpacks. I guess I'm just asking for monetary donations of support and building these events. Pre-COVID, we had the event with 400 children who came and grabbed school supplies, and we had THPRD, we had Virginia Garcia, we had Second Home, Oregon Food Bank. So we gathered resources to help the community with a hand up, not actually giving them a hand down. And we would like to continue that, but we're so used to only doing 1 event, and we only have funds for 1 event, that we would like help in supporting 3 more events. So yeah, that's my little spiel for 2 minutes.
who wants to pipe in with the Jefferson? This is, I think, the exact thing that the neighborhood matching grant program is there to support. And I can coordinate with you after the meeting and give you more details on that. But basically, it makes up to $3,000 available for this. I mean, so I don't know if that how much of a dent that type of figure makes in your own costs, but I know that's something that's funded through the city. It's very easy to. You're definitely going to get support from the NAC for that, which is one of the things that happens. But yeah,
that works. I appreciate anything helps. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I think we can also I mean, I'd love to know more about this just in general, and then something that I know that we have discussed in the events subcommittee is how we can partner with groups in Central Beaverton like yours, like I think Home Plate Youth Services works out of. This is just as an example of another group that we would love to be able to use some of our events as fundraisers to help out, you know, the other nonprofits in the area. So what I'm saying is there's an immediate pool of matching grant that can happen, you know, pretty quickly. And then there are hopefully further opportunities outside of that to do ongoing support.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah.
Great. I just put my email in the address in the chat for David, and then Jefferson. If you can see that in the chat to panelists and attendees, that's me, tmdrane@gmail. And then otherwise, I think we'll see you at the Loop CAC meeting on.
That's right.
In a couple of days.
Yes.
So yeah, I would love to be in touch with you in the and coordinate that, help coordinate with that.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Tom. Yeah.
Jefferson, could you put your contact info in the chat?
That works too.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Great. All right. Great, thanks for that, Jefferson. Anyone else? Okay, looks like we're good. Apologies for running over tonight. That a lot of the good discussion. I appreciate everyone's attention and hanging in there past 9 o'clock. So thank you, everyone. And if there's no other comments, officially close the meeting. All right, so enjoy